Now that we've created our first page of our newsletter, we're going to insert a page and create an advertisement to be placed on the back of the newsletter. Click after your clip art there and press, well, actually let's go to Breaks. On the Page Layout tab, let's go to Breaks. And this time we're going to create a Next Page section break. And this creates a new page. We're going to change the orientation of this page to be landscape. Now, I'm going to zoom down here and show you the difference between portrait and landscape orientation. The first page is portrait orientation, and it is taller than it is wide. The second page that we have here is landscape orientation, and it is wider than it is tall. Now let me zoom back up so I can work more easily with this page. I'm going to have it zoomed where I can see most of the page so that I can balance things out the way I want to. Now we're going to type the title of a business. You can come up with your own title if you want. And then I'm going to select that, and I'm going to grow the font till it's at 72. Now, I still have columns turned on, so let's go to our Page Layout tab, and let's turn it to one column. And let's center this. Press Enter twice. And we're going to take our font back down to 24-point font. And we're going to left align it. But we're going to indent. Then click the Increase Indent button. Several times until it goes over to that 5-inch mark. And we're going to make a bulleted list here. Okay, we've got our bulleted list. Let's press Enter twice to turn off our bullet list and get us back over to the left margin. Now let's type in some more information. I'm going to grow the font. Remember, the shortcut is Control, Shift, and the period. Press it twice until we have 28-point font going on now. Let's center our text, Control E. All right, and I don't really like this spacing right here. I'm going to go up here and I'm going to hit Enter one more time and turn that bullet off for that. And I'll tell you what, let's select this right here, and let's make this 12-point font for that. Go back down here, click after this, press Enter, and let's type in our contact information. Now, sometimes you have things that you want to not break across any lines no matter what, like phone numbers, if you have a company name or a logo that you want to stay together at all times, you need to insert a non-breaking space. So, for example, we've got a phone number here, 501. Hit Control, Shift, and the space bar, And instead of the solid dot for a space, you see a little clear dot for the space. And that will allow the phone number to stay together. And then we're going to type the rest of the phone number and put a non-breaking hyphen in. Hit Control, Shift, and the dash key. And then finish your phone number. Okay, let's press space 3 times. And we're going to insert a symbol. Go to Insert, Symbol. Let's go to More Symbols. And let's choose a wingding. And scroll down until you find this diamond, this fancy diamond shape there. And click Insert. And then close. And then space 3 more times. And let's type in a fax number. And let's put a non-breaking space between these because we don't want that to separate from our phone number. Control, Shift, space. We've got 501. Control, Shift, space. 555. Control, Shift, dash for a non-breaking hyphen. And then let's go over here. Instead of putting that symbol back in, let's select these spaces. Click in front of this space. It's not going to let me click and drag. So click in front of that space and hold the Shift key and press the right arrow to select those spaces and that symbol. Let's copy and let's paste. Remember to paste, it's Control V as in victory. And then we're going to put in an email address. And again, with that email, let's take out the hyphen. Email. And we're going to put a non-breaking space in. Control, Shift, space. Now you see that that non-breaking space kept these two words together. If I had put a regular space in there, it would have allowed it to break. And that doesn't look so great for the design of our flyer. So I'm going to put that space back in there, that non-breaking space. And there we have created a new page with a different page orientation. And it's a flyer. Now let's go to the end. If you're not at the end here, make sure you're at the end of this flyer. And we are going to go to Page Layout. And we are going to insert another break, another next page break. This page, we're going to change back to portrait orientation. And we're going to change the size of this page to be letter. Actually, let's change it to the smaller size. This will be like one of the inserts that you often see in a folded up newspaper or something. You get all these little inserts in there. Let's do a 4x6 insert. Okay. And let's take the page border off of this section. We're going to change apply to this section, and we're just going to remove the page border. And click OK. And let's change the font back to a normal size font, 12-point font here. And let's type in, let's change our alignment to left alignment. And let's put some random text in here. Let me zoom up to this page now. Type in equals rand, open parentheses, and we're going to do 6 paragraphs at 4 sentences per paragraph. Okay, so we've got this insert here with some information on it. Anytime that you have text, grammar rules say that you should never have a paragraph that has one line by itself, either at the top of the page or the bottom of the page. By default, Word turns on widow and orphan protection, and you see that going on here. This paragraph has 2 lines of text put together on the page. If you turn off widow and orphan protection, sometimes you'll have these little sentence fragments hanging around on a page by themselves. Anytime you have a last line of a paragraph that appears by itself, that's called a widow. And an orphan is if you have the first line of a paragraph that's at the bottom of the page by itself. We're going to work with widows and orphan protection to give you a little more idea about what's going on. To work with widow and orphan protection, select all of the text that you want to work with. So we're going to select all the text on these pages here. Okay, and then go to the paragraph group on the Home tab or the Page Layout tab, either one. Click the Paragraph Group More button or dialog box launcher, and then click the Line and Page Breaks tab. You notice the checkbox for widow orphan control, and I have some other things checked here, so I'm going to uncheck those so that mine looks like yours. Click OK once you've turned off widow orphan control, and then scroll back up through your document. And here we have an orphan. One line, the first line of the paragraph on a page by itself. And as I said before, that's grammatically incorrect. So let's select all of our information and turn widow orphan control back on. And click OK. And notice now the least amount of lines of a paragraph that you see on a page, either at the top or bottom of a page by itself, is 2 lines. Now, sometimes you may have a paragraph that you want to make sure stays with the next paragraph on a page. Click on this second paragraph here, anywhere in the second paragraph. Let's go to the paragraph dialog box and tell it to keep with next. Then click OK. You see you get a little special paragraph or formatting mark there, and it took the paragraph off of this page and forced it to be with the third paragraph on the next page. To turn that back off, simply go to the paragraph, click anywhere in the paragraph for which you've turned that on, and then launch the dialog box. Uncheck The last thing I want to show you is how to insert a cover page if you need to have a cover page for your published document. Typically, a newsletter doesn't have a cover page, but other documents do. And sometimes you want a blank page added after the cover page or before the works cited page. Many times um, it's nice to have a blank page in there to separate um, your main report from the cover page or the ending pages, the works cited or bibliography pages. So to do that in your document, let's hit Control Home. And we are going to go to zoom down. I'm zoomed way up. I'm going to close this. I'm going to go to the Insert tab and click on Cover Page. When you click the Cover Page drop down arrow, you get a gallery of all different kinds of cover pages that you can do. And some of them are pretty fancy looking. Scroll down here and choose one. I'm going to choose this one called Stacks. And you see it has some fields for you to type things in. I'm going to click on Type the Document Title, and I'm going to type in CBA Newsletter. And I don't really like the way that hyphenates that. So I'm going to select all that. And I'm going to change the font down a little bit and see if that fixes it. Yeah, I just did the shrink font button and that fixed it. Document subtitle, I don't want one. So I can remove that control if I don't want that control. But maybe there, instead of the subtitle, I would want the date. Since this one doesn't have a field for the date, I go to Insert Date and Time and enter the date there. And then it automatically added my name. If it doesn't automatically add your name the way it should be, your first name, space, your last name, then you would need to type that in there. I have a cover page for my report or my newsletter. And then if I want a blank page between the cover page and the actual newsletter or the actual document, I can do Insert Blank Page. And now I'm going to zoom down. You see I've got my cover page, my blank page, my newsletter page, my flyer, and then my little inserts that I might print out and have a little booklet inserted in my newsletter. So I've got all this together. I've got all these different sections and things going on, helping me to manage the flow of my text throughout my document or my newsletter. The last thing you want to do before you print your document and send it out for people to read is to do a spelling and grammar check. Spell check can be done in a number of ways. On the Review tab, if you click the Spelling and Grammar button, you will see a dialog box pop up that says Spelling and Grammar, and it has suggestions about grammar things. In this case, it's telling me maybe I shouldn't be capitalizing the word about. But it's part of my title, so I do want to do it, so I'm going to tell it to ignore once. When you click OK again, it comes to this box because we didn't really have any spelling and grammar errors because we used random text. If we typed information in ourselves, it would be more likely that it would find some errors or some suggestions for us that we could either accept or ignore in our dialog box there. Let's go ahead and click OK, and we're going to type in some errors. So on insert, let's take out the letter E. And let's go over here where we typed in doctor. And let's take out the C. And on here where it says choosing, let's take out an O. And notice we get these red wavy underlines. That means we've got a spelling error. Let's do this here. It says when you create, let's type U in twice. We get an error there. We hadn't really misspelled anything, but we've typed U in twice, and it's going to say, hey, that's probably an error. And let's take out this comma. Undo. And let's add a comma here. And you notice a green wavy underline there. Now, after we've done these changes, let's go to the spelling and grammar button. And you see we start getting the suggestions where we have made these errors. And in this case, it's saying you've got U in there twice. Do you want to ignore it or do you want to delete it? So let's click delete to fix it. And here for doter, it should be doctor. And we get different words that are in the dictionary being given to us as suggestions. And it kind of puts it in order of best match to what they think we're really meaning to say. And so we want to choose doctor there and tell it to change it. For choosing, we get that. Let's choose choosing and click change. Insert and change. And then here we have a green grammatical error. And it's saying you probably don't really need that comma. Check that out and see if you want that. And let's go ahead and change that because we did force that to be incorrect there, right? So click OK. And that's how you do a spelling and error and grammar error check. Now, let's use the thesaurus to find a synonym. Let's go to the word document. Let's double click it to select it. Right click it and choose synonym. And let's change it to file. So instead of saying the overall look of your document, you can say the overall look of your file. The other way to use the thesaurus is here to click the thesaurus button on the review tab. And you get this task pane over here to the right when you use that button, and it lets you look up the word or replace the word. And we can do change file to report. When you click on it, it looks it up and gives you more suggestions. You can click the back button to go back, and maybe we didn't need to click on it, but we actually want to use it to replace it. Click the drop down arrow and choose insert, and now it no longer says file, but it says report. There. Let me zoom that up. I'm going to undo that so you can see that. I've got the word file selected. I'm going to click over here on report and click insert, and it changed file to report. And so anytime you want to sound smarter, or to you've used a word over and over and you need to vary it a little bit so that your report isn't so boring, you can use the thesaurus to find synonyms. Or maybe you have a word and you want to find the opposite of it. Then you can find an antonym. Let's go down here in this section and see if we can find an antonym for the word include. So click the thesaurus button, and you see antonyms: exclude, omit, exclude, reject. So we could use an antonym too if we're looking for a word that means the opposite. We can use the thesaurus to find an antonym. And that is our lesson.